Welcome to Hilton. The guy says, you want to be high or low? I said, I want to be low in case of an earthquake so I can watch all people run. And this is a view of the beautiful Cambridge. The sun just set down. Over there in the distance, you see Walmart. Right, that's a big shopping area over there. That's the building with the red roof. Is Staples. And then over there in the back we have LA Fitness, Suzy, Arona. And there's another shopping plaza on the other side, so that's going from left to right with that yellow truck over there. That's 401, crawling because of the time of the day. And these guys where the red truck is, they're all trying to get on the ramp to 401 going westbound towards US. And from here it's 3 hours to Detroit, Michigan, or about 2 hours to Port Huron. And I said my next video will be, I think I broke something. It was already broken. I said my next video will be me driving towards Alabama to pick up a new trailer, but the comment is not so fast. So Sunday I stopped by my bank, which is open 7 days a week, and Sunday they open till 4, and I was there. It's like 3:30, and I was positive they would not allow me to do the transfer, the money transfer, the money I owe for the trailer. And they said, oh, it's okay. They said this company, the leasing company where I'm paying, they're actually a customer at the same bank. And so they said, you don't need to do a wire transfer. This is kind of like just a transfer. Like basically, we are transferring money from my account at the same bank to another account at the same bank, just a different company, different customer. And there was like 2 pretty big payments, but they gave me the receipts, paid. And I said, could you check that they received it? And because it's the same bank, she can just go inside their account. And she said, yeah, the money's there, there's no hold. And so first thing in the morning today, Monday, I showed up at the offices of this leasing company. And they asked me to see the receipts from the bank. And then they checked their computer. They said, yeah, we got it. Just give us like 10-15 minutes. And so they gave me this final paperwork I needed with my name on it. Everything is cool. And then I drove to MTO, a local DOT office, and finalized this thing over there. So the old trailer is done. Everything is finished that I needed to do the paperwork. And then I sent an email because I have like a couple of candidates in US, right? I'm no longer interested in custom built trailer because it's just too long, 3 to 8 months. 8 months, that's at Nair Talbert, and I don't even like him that much, and Fontaine over here, if you do custom, it's like 3-4 months, And then there's Shiltima and all these guys like JC, JJ. I sent an angry email to Pacesetter Manufacturing because it was taking them 2 weeks to come up with a quote. And I just said, I'm sorry guys, I decided to go with Fontaine. And I got an email this morning. The guy says, well, actually, our engineering, we never built a trailer like that. And that's what I suspected. So basically, these guys, they don't know how to build a US-focused trailer. They're in British Columbia. And on their website, they say, yeah, we build trailers, for US, for Canada, basically. We're number one. We build trailers for everybody. And then you ask them for a simple, typical American spec. 22 inches loaded deck, 6-inch of ground clearance, 27-foot long deck, 54-inch spacing. And these guys start scratching their heads. And week one, they told me, I said, so what's taking so long? Oh, engineering is looking in the past to see if we built a trailer like that. And then week two, when I sent them that letter saying that, forget it, I'm going with Fontaine, they said, yeah, actually, we never built a trailer like that. And so that was something that we're not familiar with, because he says most of our trailers have 8 inches of ground clearance. And basically, their trailers are built like for the tundra and the boonies and like off-road construction. I don't need 8 inches of ground clearance. That's a trailer will be too tall. It just does not work for me. So anyways, all these guys, it's all BS. Because all my loads are into and out of US, I have to go with the US built trailer, because those guys, they know what's required. And Ontario and other parts of Eastern Canada are very pro-American in terms of rules and regulations and axle weights and stuff like that. So whatever works in Ontario usually works in US. But I cannot say that. Nobody can say that about Western Canada. I'm not too familiar with anything beyond Quebec. But Ontario is really integrated with the United States, okay? So you get a Stinger, you get a Jeep, or you get even like a quad 4 axles, you can still do something in US, And so anyway, I sent an email to the boss at this leasing company where I just, sold the trailer, right? And I said, okay, so a new lease offer. And I told them about this trailer in the States that's sitting ready to go. And they're like, 60 ton. The price is how much? This is a specialized trailer. We would need somewhere around 20% down payment. 20% on a lease. And of course, it's a capital lease, which means that it's just they're tricking the government. It's not a lease, it's a financing, because I own, it's fully depreciated by the end of the lease. What kind of lease is that? But they say, it's a capital lease. But all they're doing is they're putting their name on the left side of the title or registration. And that gives them total control about the trailer, so they can repossess it anytime they want because it's their trailer. And secondly, and most importantly, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you finance something and you are the owner, in Canada, I have no idea what's happening in US, but in Canada, you are allowed to use 30% depreciation for trailers and 40% depreciation for trucks. And what it means is that, let's say you made $100,000 a year and you have a brand new truck, and during the first year, you are allowed, well, they say usually 50%, but you can allow the full 40%, but they're saying that if you bought the truck, let's say in the middle of the year or in the last 3 months, they say usually it's like half of regular, but they don't say it's prohibited. So I remember when I bought a truck and it was financed, like first year, I deducted the full amount I was entitled to. But so you made $100,000 and you bought a truck, let's say, which is worth $200,000. So because it's Ontario, Canada, they allow you 40% of the price to be deducted from your annual income, right? So 40% of the price is what? Is $80,000, right? 50% is 100,000, right? 40% is 80, yeah. So you made, your gross income is 100,000. Now the government allows you to deduct 80,000. So now you only pay tax on $20,000. So of course next year you deduct 40% from whatever's left. So now, because you use so much, now your taxable value of your truck is only, 120,000. So now basically you start deducting 40% from 120 grand. So your advantage, so to speak, your tax advantage goes down. But imagine a big company like this leasing guys. They own all this stuff, right? They have, I don't know, 20 trucks, 50 trailers that they lease to idiots like me, and they own all that equipment. So their name is on the left-hand side of the title or registration, as we call it here. So they are able to deduct all that depreciation, 30% for trailers, 40% for trucks, from their income, And only smart cookies like me understand this. And that's why you hate leasing, but it's the only way to go, because it's very difficult to get financing. Even my truck, right? I said I want financed. Well, it's a big amount, and of course I ended up getting the same capital lease like what I have on the trailer. So I just double check again. Yeah, on the left side, the owner of the vehicle is Packard Financial, which is the company that owns Peterbilt and Kenworth, right? But that's fine. Okay, you want to use this equipment to decrease your taxes, fine. But 20% down payment on a lease, that's where I draw a line. And I told this guy, I said, I'm sorry, but it's not acceptable. And he says, well, if you go with the 55 ton, we'll take 10% down. We're just not comfortable with a highly specialized trailer, and the price is high. And I said, wait, so what about this? That price for a 60-ton trailer is actually a trailer plus the flip axle. I said, how about this? If you're afraid of the high price, just finance me or lease me this 3-axle trailer, and then I'll find a way to get the 4th flip axle. And the guy sends me an email. Oh, I got a dumb question. If you buy a 60-ton with 3 axles, how is that any different from a 55-ton? And so I just give him a whole lecture about this, like saying, well, first of all, it's a modular trailer. You can change decks. You can shim the area between the wheels and the deck to increase the pressure on the wheels, so you can play with the weight when you have a heavy weight. You can add inserts. Let's say you find a load where it's like a crane and you have some money sitting in the bank. You can buy a 5 or 10 foot long insert. You can unscrew those bolts and hire somebody with a big forklift to put that thing in there. And now instead of 26 or 27 deck, you have 5 or 10 foot more. So it's a modular deck. And then you can get a beam deck, you can get a drop side rail deck, so you can change that. But of course it's expensive, it's a lot of work, but it's just like it's many trailers in one. It's modular. Secondly, on a 55-ton trailer, you cannot get a neck large enough for a serious Jeep. Like even a single axle Jeep, but the one I was looking at with a long neck, you cannot use with a 55-ton from Fontaine. You can use it with other brands because they give you a long neck, but Fontaine only gives you 101 inch, and then you add a flip box. What's tricky is that, or neck extension, what's tricky is that on a 55-ton, the maximum you can get is 23-inch flip box. So 101 plus 23, 124. That's not enough for a serious Jeep, let alone tandem Jeep. So the way Fontaine plays the game is that if you want to use a single axle Jeep with a long neck, or a tandem Jeep, of course, you need somewhere like, I know I talked to this Pacesetter guys, right, that make this long neck Jeep. They say you need at least 152 or 154 inch swing radius. So if you go with a 60-ton, you can get an 83-inch flip box. So now you have 184 swing radius, and you can use a big Jeep, right? So that's one difference. So you cannot do that with a 55-ton Fontaine. The second difference is that this trailer I'm interested in, it's not just the deck is modular, but the rear wheel area is modular, and you can run it as a 2-axle trailer because the third axle can be taken off. You know, if you have like a super light load and you want to save some weight, you can just take the third axle off. You can run it as a tridem, you can run it as a quad, 4 axles in a row, or you can add a spreader bar and put it either between axle 2 and 3 and run it as a 2+2, or you can put the spreader between axle 3 and 4 and run it as a 3+1. So basically this 60-ton trailer, it's like no comparison whatsoever to a 55-ton trailer, even though like the difference is not that big in the number, right? It's only 110 versus 120,000 pounds. You know, you would think like, wait a second, how can 10,000 pounds in the rating make such a difference? But it's because of all this, because of a different neck available, because of the modular deck, because of the modular bogie in the back that you can change the amount of axles you're using, you know. So it's I think that's what I want, you know. And they kept pushing me. The guy says, well, I talked to the Fontaine dealer. He says, yeah, and that's their reasoning. He says, not many 60-ton trailers are sold. So basically they're afraid is that, like, they don't care about me, right? All they care is their money. So if I cannot make payments, if they have to repossess the trailer, which they can easily do because they are the owner, they're afraid that they won't be able to easily sell it because they say not many 60-ton trailers are sold. But he says, if you get a 55-ton, like I wanted to originally actually, with a level deck, he says, give us 10% and you're good to go. And those are about like what, 71,000 US right now, just a basic Tridem 55-ton. But prices went up. They said because the steel keeps getting expensive, so prices went up. One guy sends me a quote and he says the price now is, let's say, 92,000 US. And I look at the quote at the bottom, it says price 89,000. So, and then he calls me and I say, wait, so you put one price at the top, there's another price at the bottom. He, where? I said, well, if you look at the bottom of your quote, there's a $4,000 cheaper. And he, oh, that's last year price. I'm sorry. It's you know, the price of steel went up, and salespeople. You cannot live without them. You cannot live with them. So anyway, and so I called the company where my truck is financed or leased from, right? And I said, guys, you only work with trucks, or can we do something with trailers? And I told them the stories that my leasing company is chicken. They think that they're afraid of 60-ton trailers, and they say it's too much money and they want 20% down. And these guys said, oh, sure, we can look at that. Just they didn't promise anything, but they said just send us the info. Whereas the first guy just gave me basically a no right away. Well, because 20%, it's you know, it's like he basically wants 30,000 Canadian plus tax, so which is like 34,000 Canadian. He wants down on a lease. Not gonna happen. And so I send them a quote from the dealer in US with the pricing and the breakdown. And I send them the booklet from Fontaine website, and I send them a picture, because I got a picture of the actual trailer that's sitting in US now. And I did like a short explanation of why I want to do this, why I want to go with a 60-ton trailer. And then I told them, I said, you know what, if you cannot, you know, if you think it's too much money for you, just let me buy that trailer with a quad with 3 axles, like a 60-ton with 3 axles, and then I'll get money later, and I'll buy the 4th axle myself, right? Because I'll still need to get, you know, the spreader bar, you know, for these heavy loads and the Jeep. But for now, I just want to, you know, start trucking, and I cannot do that without a trailer. So I just need Any kind of trailer would have tried them, but this one, something that I can grow with, this would be perfect. And she promised me the answer by the end of today, but 2 minutes before 5, I tried calling them. Nobody's in the office. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I feel hopeful. I feel confident. Is because these guys are not afraid of high numbers, because like my truck was 225 grand Canadian, right? And this trailer is much cheaper than that. So these guys have much more money than that leasing company. So they're not afraid of high prices. It's just I have to persuade them that I can pay for it. But my truck payment, like I mentioned that, I think, right? My truck payment went down after the 6 months, and so it's going to be my overall payment for the truck and trailer will be the same as before. So yeah, today was an interesting day. Lots of running around, lots of paperwork, but I did manage to accomplish lots of things. And I did my New York highway use tax return, and I did my Kentucky. I love Kentucky. Kentucky guys are the best, like Kentucky DOT. You go online, you enter username, password. All they want to know is how many miles you ran in Kentucky in the last quarter. You put that in, there's a rate. They don't care how many gallons of fuel you bought. They don't care about that, because that's already reported with the IFTA, right? When I do my actual IFTA return, this is like extra money that Kentucky wants. But all they want to know is how many miles you ran. That's it. You enter the miles, there's a rate, and it says I owe them, I think it was like $9.20. How would you like to pay? Direct debit if you're American. I'm pretty sure they cannot take money from a Canadian bank directly, but I said credit card. Okay, there's like a $1.50 surcharge. Never mind, click, boom, boom, done. And it says to download your receipt and your return, click here. So basically 10 minutes, the Kentucky return is done. And then I look at my to-do list. Okay, this is done, this is done. All right, New York highway use return. So the same stuff except for New York State. It says web filing. I try to find it. Yeah, it's available, but whenever I go, it's like everything is grayed out. I cannot do it on the web, Okay, so I'm using that 2-page form. And these idiots, they want to know not only your all miles in New York, but they want to know your miles that you ran not on toll highways. So you have to, when you keep track of your miles in New York State, they want you to separate them into toll roads and non-toll roads. And then there's you have to put that rate. There's like a table with the rates. Like nothing is automatic. It's just a form, like a printed form, but a PDF, right? You just fill it out, and then at the end it tells you how much you owe. And of course, you cannot pay online since you're not doing it online. You're just doing it a PDF form, right? So you have to pay with a money order. I go to my bank. I have a US dollar account. I say, okay, can I get like a certified US check? They say no, bank draft only. That's what it's called in Canada. And so I think I owed these guys like $23.56 US. The draft, or which is like a certified check, was $7. And I said, is this US funds or like these $7? Is this US or Canadian? They said US. Why are you charging me US fees? You're Canadian, I'm Canadian. Why are you charging me US funds? Oh, it's a US draft and US fund. Okay, and we have Canada Post is on strike. Canada Post, like it's United States Postal Service, right? But we have Canada Post. Canada Post is on strike, but it's not like a general strike. It's what they call rolling or rotating strike, like certain cities, like Oshawa, Peterborough, like here in Ontario. Like Toronto is fine, but then they have Niagara Falls. And I asked my UPS guy, I say, so do you guys get, even though it says only some certain towns are affected, you get any mail through Canada Post? They said no. So basically nobody works, And I have to mail this return to New York with that overpriced bank draft. and the address says PO box, and UPS or FedEx, they cannot send to PO boxes. So the only way to do it is use Canada Post, but it's on strike, and I have until the end of this month to send this. So I see a link there on the form. It says see publication 55, private senders, private couriers information. So I find that, I Google that, I find it online, and it says, yeah, you can use UPS, you can use DHL, FedEx, whatever, but you must use a different address without the PO box in it, you know. And I find that one. I go to the UPS store, I give them the return signed, you know, with the check, with the draft, and so the amount I owed was $23.56 or $23.90. No, $23.56, $23.56. And the UPS guy says, how fast do you want it there? I said, I don't care, because as soon as you stamp it, as long as it in the system before the end of the month, I'm off the hook. There's no fees, right? Because they look at the stamp. And he says, the cheapest rate is $45 Canadian. I said, come on, man, I'm sending a check for $23.56. They want me to pay 45 Canadian, which is like 35 US. I said, are you sure? He says, yep, that's the cheapest rate to go from Ontario to New York State. And I'm thinking, boy, I was in US, right? I was just driving from Iowa, but I was lazy. I hate these returns. I didn't want to do it. But I got US stamps. Like last time I did this, I bought a book of stamps. So I have US stamps, I have envelopes, and I have the tape in my truck. So if I did this when I was still in US, if I was not lazy, I could have gone to any grocery store and bought a money order for $1, and then I could have put it in the envelope and just put stamps on it, right? And just put it in just use a USPS because it goes to a PO box. So that was my bet. So next time, yeah, I'm just all these returns like New York State, like IFTA, I'm okay because my IFTA office is in Ontario, so it's much easier to send it to them. Well, of course, not during the strike, but these strikes don't happen often. It's probably the last one I remember is like 5 years ago. But anyway, this US stuff, yeah, it's always best to mail it from US. So, but that's done. I don't care, you know, because if you don't give them this stupid $23, they're gonna be so much stink you would not believe. They will send you a letter saying that they're gonna repossess your truck. You know, you owe them this, you owe them that. You don't wanna, you know, play with the Department of Finance or Commissioner of Finance and Taxation. So, but anyway, so that's done. IFTA's done, New York done, Kentucky's done. So I'm off the hook until the end of the Q4. So all I need now is a trailer. And all I need for that is somebody who's willing to lease or finance this trailer. And I got money for the down payment thanks to the kind gentleman from Iowa, because that's all I got out of this deal. I just got enough money to put some money down on a new trailer. But turns out that's not enough for some people, right? They want 20%. I guess I should be grateful that it's not 30% or 40% on a lease. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow I should have some answers from the trucking financing company, hopefully. And if not, if they say no, I'll just say, you know, let's just lose that axle. Just get me a price for, because the price of a 60-ton with a Tridem is pretty much the same as the price for a 55-ton with a quad. You understand? So that one is like 71,000 plus the flip is 16, so 87. And the 60-ton with the Tridem is just a little bit more money than that, but like a couple of $1,000. So it's very comparable. So that's what I'm thinking. If they cannot do a full deal, let's do a partial deal, and then I'll find the missing components. I'll find them later. No big deal. I just need to start rolling. Once I start making money again, we're good. Have a good day.